Hi, this is Ben for learningsurfphotography.com. I've got a brand new port for my Sea Frogs salted line A6XXX housing, and this is a bit of a first for me because it's a port that's not made by the same brand as the housing. It's a third-party port. This one's made by Frog Ports USA. Check them out on Instagram. I'll put links below to the website and the Instagram. You can have a look at what they're about. But basically, it's an aluminium 6-inch dome port with quite a shallow dome, and it's built to be compatible with this Sea Frogs housing. So you might have seen my other videos on the Sea Frogs, or you might have one yourself. So you might be familiar with something like this, which is their own 6-inch port, which is not as shallow as you can see. Hold right way up. So it's a bit deeper, a bit more domed, as it were, and it's made of plastic. The body of this is plastic, and as you can see, it's got quite a long kind of stem on it, so you need quite a long lens. So I've tried that one out with a Samyang f3.5 8mm fisheye, and it did work, but I prefer using really small fisheyes like this 7 Artisans 7.5mm, or even this Maker 6.5mm circular fisheye. So I use those with my Liquid Eye C6000 with their small dome port, and I've used them with the 4-inch dome port for the Sea Frogs. So this is one that Sea Frogs makes themselves, and it's plastic mount again, but as you can see, it's hardly got any stem on it at all, and it's very small. It's much more like what I'm used to with something like the Liquid Eye ports. So really keeps the size down, makes it a bit easier to handle, easier to transport, just generally more convenient all around having a small dome. If you're working above the water, then there's no real advantage to having a bigger dome. But lots of people do want that because, as Frog Ports USA say on their site, it helps you get split shots over-under style. And they've gone for this kind of shallower dome because they say the water sheets off more quickly. I'll show you some footage of the water doing just that. To be honest, I've never had a problem with it sheeting off slowly on any dome I've had, up to, like, here's a bigger dome for instance. This is an Aquatech 8-inch dome, just so you can see the difference. It's almost like taking the top third of this dome and popping a nice solid aluminium backing on it. In fact, this is probably, if you've handled an Aquatech dome port, then you'll be familiar with this kind of aluminium base rather than the plastic of the Sea Frogs, and you will be impressed with this aluminium kind of base for the dome. So I was really impressed when I first got it out. The CNC machining is really, really great. The finish on it is brilliant. It's got these hex bolts around here, so it's kind of mechanically sealed there. It's not glued or anything as far as I know. So in fact, they say that it's designed so you can take these off, take that outer ring off, and then you can swap just the dome port piece out if you scratch it or so badly you can't polish it, then you might want to do that. So that's a few of the reasons why this one is a bit of a different construction. Let's have a really close look. I'm just going to put the back on this because it keeps rattling around, and I want you to be able to see how it works with the pistol grip, because I think a lot of people who might be in the market for this dome will be shooting with the pistol grip on this housing, because wide angle lenses are the ones that you need dome ports for, like fisheyes, as I mentioned. Although it is compatible with, I think, the kit lens, the 16 to 50mm lens. I can't show you right now because it's actually on my camera filming. But it's also compatible with the Sony 16mm pancake lens with the fisheye adapter, that same lens on its own, and that same lens with the ultra wide adapter. I don't have that lens myself, but I have seen some great shots that Chad, who's one of the guys who makes this, sent me. So I know for a fact that I'll get good results with that lens. That also offers autofocus as well, so you won't get that with the, let's say, the 7 Artisans 7.5mm fisheye. This is one of the really budget-friendly kind of bargain lenses, which I really like. It's got great image quality, and it feels solid. And I've used this 7.5mm lens with this tiny little Sea Frogs dome port, and there is a bit of vignetting, a bit of dark corners. It's way too short for their 6-inch version of their dome. Haven't tried it with any of the other Sea Frogs domes. They do have a bigger one as well. A bit more like this Aquatech one in terms of size, but obviously with the bayonet fitting, which fits the salted line. So far, the best dome port for the 7 Artisans fisheye is the Frogport USA 6, is what's kind of embossed on here. So it also does work with my 6.5mm circular fisheye, which is great because I haven't used it with any of the other ones because it's got the widest field of view of any lens I've got, and I really didn't want to lose any of that by using a dome port which wasn't designed for it. So it works perfectly with my Liquid Eye C6000, and they're the smallest dome port that they do, and it works pretty well with this. There's a tiny bit of clipping, but I'll show you an example of the unedited photo you get out of this. Remember, it's a circular fisheye, so it does look a bit strange anyway. I'll show you an example from my C6000 Liquid Eye housing and an example from this, and you'll see there's very little difference. And in fact, once I edited it, pretty much no difference at all. I'll show you some examples. Probably the best session I've had with this was with this fisheye, just because the light was best, really. So I would say build quality, it's on a par with Aquatech, which means really, really high. The other company that's quite a lot like is Salty Surf Housings. Confusion with the name. I think Salty Surf Housings got it first before the Salted line came along, but Salty Surf Housings do make their ports out of aluminium as well. I've used theirs, and they in fact build their whole housings in a similar way to the way this port is built. But you get rock solid. I mean, it's quite heavy. I'll weigh it after I've shot this, and I'll put the comparison up with the various different dome ports. Wouldn't worry about that though, because when you're actually using it in the water, it's kind of buoyant, so you're not holding it up like this the whole time. It's not like you're doing weights the whole session, so don't worry about the weights, but it feels solid. I mean, you're going to do some damage if you hit someone with this. So build quality wise, it's perfect. In terms of like the tolerances and how well it fits onto this housing, it's in every way as good as the ports from the Sea Frogs themselves. It fits in perfectly. It's a really nice fit. It goes in smoothly. It's not too tight. You do find it is a bit of a different experience to one of these ports because it's such a tight tolerance. I mean, if you have a look, I'll put some close-up shots, but there's no gap there. There's literally, you might be able to fit a sheet of paper in between this grip side and the back of the port. With the pistol grip button, you can fit your finger in there. I can fit mine in very comfortably. If I had a wetsuit glove on, maybe like a 2 or 3, some people wear 5mm gloves in the colder parts of the world, and I think you might even struggle. Although, as you can see, it's not there is kind of only a little bit of overlap, so I'm sure you could push it, but you might find a little bit of pressure there. Don't know, that might make you, because this is a 2-stage pistol grip button, you might find that you're focusing a bit prematurely, if anything, which wouldn't be a problem again with a fisheye, which is what you're mostly going to be using this with, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to be setting manual focus for a fisheye. So if you wear thick gloves, maybe think twice, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. So yeah, this grip side, if you're shooting with the top button, especially with the Maker 6.5mm, because you kind of feel like you should grip the front of the dome port because there's not really anything to grab hold of there. So you're going to get your fingers in the shot basically. The corners of the fisheye, even in like a the R7 Artisans or like a Samyang 8mm Rockinon 8mm f2.8 fisheyes, they work with this dome as well. So if you've got one of those, this is going to be a good shout. Then you really don't want to be holding it like that because you're probably going to get your fingertips in the corner of the shot, which is not what you want. One of the selling points of this shallower dome, according to the Frogport USA site and Instagram, is that the water sheets off quickly. So here's some video of me bringing the dome port out of the water, and you can see, yes, it's instant. Like I said, I'll be honest, I don't think I've had any problems with that in the past with it taking longer to sheet off. It's pretty instant, whichever dome port I've used, from all the way up to the biggest ones. But if you've ever had that problem before, then bear that in mind, might be a good option. Other reasons that this shallower dome might be good, I think, I'm not an expert, but I think it might make it easier to focus underwater. It might mean, I think, basically the bigger the dome, so the less angled the dome, the less of a lens it becomes when you're underwater. So what happens with focusing underwater is the fact that there's water surrounding this curved surface effectively creates another lens, and it bends the light as it goes through. Like I say, I'm not an expert. I'll put a link below so you can read all about it from someone who is an expert. But essentially, the shallower the dome, I believe, the less distortion there will be, and the further away you can focus. So I think that's going to make it easier for getting over and under in focus on split shots, and focusing when you're underwater if your lens doesn't focus really, really close. Now, again, saying that, I've never had a problem shooting underwater with small dome ports with fisheye lenses, because they've got such a big depth of field. Lots of stuff's in focus because they're so wide, and because they normally have really close focusing anyway. So there's a couple of reasons. If you run into a couple of issues, those issues I've described, then this is a great option. If you want something that's absolutely rock solid, not made of plastic, this is a great option. If you want one that's, perhaps if you live in the USA and you want it shipped domestically, because they are based in the USA and they're made in the USA, another good advantage of this one. I think, generally speaking, if you're shooting with the Samyang 8mm f2.8 or Rokinon 8mm f2.8 fisheye, they're the same. Same lens, different name. Or 7.5mm, or the Maker 6.5mm. This is probably the best dome port for you. In fact, it definitely is for 7R stands in the Maker that I've got, 100%, because it's the least, has the least vignetting. For the Samyang 8mm, then this one's smaller, lighter, easier to carry, so bear that in mind. It's also a little bit cheaper, and this one you're not going to be looking at this one as an alternative because it uses a different type of lens. It definitely has some advantages over this smaller dome port. These are the two you're going to be looking at, I think, because if you're using the 16mm Sony lens with the fisheye adapter, or any of those other fisheyes I've just mentioned, the small manual focus fisheyes, as well as the 16mm plus adapter, these are the two ports you're going to be after. And like I say, I mean, in terms of build quality and materials, can't go wrong with this, but it is that much bigger. That has advantages, like we say. So I reckon if you're looking at split shots with those smaller fisheyes, this is the dome you should buy. If you're just doing above water or even just below water, then the small dome I've found has been really good. I've used it quite a lot. It's probably going to be the dome port that my kind of go-to dome port for this housing now, just because of the fisheye lenses that I use. One thing I did notice, I'll show you an example. If you're shooting, you might not even notice this, but I happened to take a photo looking straight down at the dark sea. It was just rocks and my swim fins underneath me, and the sky was quite bright, obviously, and you can see quite a clear reflection back because the way these housings are built to accommodate more than one camera. They're not kind of as compact as the C6000 housing, for instance. There's a gap between the top and bottom of the camera, and you see the reflected light. So you shoot your fisheye down, you see the light reflecting back from the dome, inside surface of the dome, back towards the lens, and it's just really obvious that you're shooting. You can see the reflection. I didn't even notice it during pretty much any other normal surf shot, any sort of fisheye shot. In an ideal world, you're in the barrel, or you're right under the lip, or you're in an extreme situation where I never noticed it. But you can, if you do take just the right type of photo, which I happen to do, you can see it really clearly. So one thing you can do is use, this is the zoom ring which comes with this housing, with the standard port. This one's for the 16 to 50mm kit lens. If you pop that into the housing, then pop your camera in, that kind of blocks part of that circle. And I did do it for my third shoot, and I didn't notice any reflections. So yeah, it's my go-to dome port for the Sea Frogs housing, because I've got the 7R stands and the Maker fisheye lenses. If you're going to be shooting a lot of over-under style shots and you have a small fisheye, or you want to use a small fisheye, then this is a great option for you for this housing. It's great to see third-party manufacturers supporting a housing, which I haven't seen before. I have got lots more videos that I've been working on, but I'm going to be putting them into a video course. So if you are interested in that, head to learningsurfphotography.com, pop your email address in, and I'll let you know when that's ready. I'm hoping it's going to be relatively soon, but I've been working on it for quite a while. And yeah, get along to Frogport USA. I'll put links below to their Instagram, which is a great place to see some examples, and that has a link then to their website where you can make a purchase. It's great. Thanks very much.